All right, everybody. Cheers and salutations. There's been a huge update for today's show because joining me now is none other than somebody I like to call one of the Dauntless Few. He has been one of the leading figures for Revolutionary Blackout Network. He's been doing great collaborations with Hotspot as well. And recently, as well, as you all know, in January, our channel was at risk of being terminated, and RBN was one of the many independent channels that helped save us and stand in solidarity with us. And right now, they also need help. And plus, we're also going to be talking about the current political environment. So, first and foremost, I want to give it up for Nick, one of the co hosts of RBN. Nick, how are you, my friend? I hope things are going well for you. It's been made clear to me that not only have our friends at INN, but even you guys at RBN have also been hit with, I guess, copyright strikes, which is unfair, and it's coming from Al Jazeera. So first, number one, how are you doing? And then number two, how did this come to pass, and how can we help you guys out so that everything is still operational? And I hope things have at least somewhat settled down a little bit.
Yeah, I mean we've been working on getting rid of our strikes that they gave us on nonsense, and I think you said Al Jazeera, but yeah, it's been a process. I know Zoya and Sabi. Thank God Sabi been helping a lot.
Oh yeah,
with removing our strikes and everything. But I don't have an update. They said they're supposed to remove one of our strikes by September, I believe, because that's why our channel has been shadow banned.
Wait, what?
I have to get an update. I have to get an update on that because we've been shadow banned for quite some time.
Right.
And I got an update. I got to talk to Zoya where they said they might remove it because they have no means. So our channel has been wrongfully shadow banned for quite some time. And we've been appealing it. I think we got an update. I got check in with my team. But I think it may be removed by September, but we see because it was nonsense. So, but that's what they're gonna do. They're gonna do everything they can to shut down, silence independent media. There's a story that's spreading like wildfire, especially among the international community, of the concentration death camps that Israel is running, sexually assaulting Palestinians. This is a story that I reported on Kid earlier this year. I did a segment in January about it, and now you have CNN, Reuters, the New York Times. They are just now reporting on this. What, 7 months later than me, a college dropout? I'm a college dropout. I reported this months before them. That's why they're trying to shut us down. But go ahead, Kid. I know you want to chime in.
Well, first of all, look. Number one, Nick, and I know I already thanked you and your team from Sabby, Rome, JB, yourself included, for helping us out. But for those of you who don't understand what a shadow ban is, well, your channel's still around, but the algorithm is being denied to you. You're basically been kicked out of the park. You're still there, but you're not being invited back in. I mean, that's a simple way of running it down. Now, you and also Indie News Network have also been hit by this, and the appeal process is a very difficult process to go through. So what I find fascinating is that I've known you guys for a very long time, and anytime you use somebody else's work, or there's some other content creators whose video you are bringing up, you do say like, hey, this is where it came from, this is where it's at, or either that you at least keep the logo up there of said organizations, just sort of like how we have Hardlands Media's logo up there. But the fact that, okay, you've had this open communication, they're telling you to wait till September. By what means are they still putting this on you guys? Because it's clear to me there's no malicious intent here. There's no, oh, hey, we're stealing this video. There's none of that being done. You guys have never done that. Has there been any kind of outreach on their side? Because it's abundantly clear this is as harmless and benign as possible. In fact, it's one big nothing burger that's being brought up. And you've mentioned how you've talked about other stories that aren't being covered by corporate media. Do you think there's any kind of connection between these two? Has there been any kind of talk about this? I know it's Sabby's helping you guys out too, as you mentioned, but could you just elaborate a little bit more on that?
I actually haven't been doing a lot of the conversation with YouTube. I left that up to JB, Zoya, and my team. But I got updates for them, and they said they talk to the people on YouTube because we appealed the strike or whatever. I'm very bad with this stuff. I don't understand how they're able to do what they do because I'm like, we didn't violate any terms of service. And I actually rarely use independent media. I love you guys. But in order to enhance my point, I generally use the New York Times. I will use the Washington Post. I will use Reuters. I would actually use corporate media if you watch my show about 90% of the time.
Right.
My point to show you guys the information is available. I'm about as radical as it comes about a far left revolutionary communist. But I can put my show together and I can show you guys data points that is available to the establishment. That's why it threw me off, kid, because I was showing videos of mainstream media sources. I showed a video from the New York Times, and these are the things that got my stream pulled. Like whenever I'm just using corporate media headlines, and I think it's shady. It's obvious what they're trying to do, because the corporate media, like we see what happened with CNN Plus, we've seen layoffs with the New York Times, the Washington Post. And as a socialist and as a communist, I usually don't root for workers being laid off, but this is the best thing that ever happened. The New York Times and these propagandists being laid off. So that's why they're panicking. The independent media is killing the corporate model. That's I think they actually won. I got a contrarian position. I think they want Trump to win because CNN and New York Times and them, they're struggling. They want that Trump boom back because independent media kicking their ass. They're coordinating with the government in order to stifle competition. That's what our oligarchy does. That's what the ruling class do. That's what they're doing with electric cars in China that whoops all our cars' ass. They rely on the government to step in. So isn't it interesting? The free market capitalists always rely on that. That is just essentially what CNN is doing. CNN, New York Times, organizations that are ran by quote unquote capitalists who are relying on the government to shut down their opposition, to shut down their main source of competition. That's why you got CNN that openly ran and was enthusiastically running segments about how Facebook, X, Twitter is not regulating their content. They want journalists censored so to create less competition. That's what that's all about. And I think that's the main drive for this. And I got to get an update on this because I haven't heard an update on this since like a week or two ago because kid, honestly, I gave up. That's why
no. I refuse that. No, don't give up. No. I'm putting my foot down.
My thing is like, bro, I feel like they're gonna fuck with me anyway. You know what I mean? But if they can overthrow the shadow ban, that'd be great. Like I'll be pleasantly surprised. Like, I hear what you're saying, but I'll be pleasantly surprised if they did. You know what I mean? That's why I was like, all right, if you guys can lift the strike, that's great. But man, they're gonna keep messing with us. That's why I focus on Hotspot. You guys know I started doing Hotspot about a year ago. That's because I'm like, dude, this YouTube shit is trash. You know what I mean? So I've been shadow banned. I've seen the suppression. I see the algorithm, like especially if you cover deeply serious topics, like I do, they will bury your content. So it's like YouTube, I'm willing to use as a tool, but I always was clear that this is just a tool. And I'm always been willing to branch out the hotspot. I've given speeches with Worker Strike Back, the Green Party. It's always been a tool. So that's what I meant by it, kid. Not like YouTube as a tool. It's like, man, it's really a tool, the oligarchy, a tool, the capitalist class. I can't rely on it. But hey, man, if they do overturn the shadow ban, that'd be great. Does that make sense?
Well, yeah, no, it does. Here's the thing. Then let me apologize because this whole last year and even a little bit of this year was a little rough on me. And, we've been trying to, rebuild everything with Hardlands Media. And I just got to say, just stay in the fight. Don't give up. We are there with you in solidarity. Our audience stood with us. You stood with us. And I want to encourage my audience. Look, please follow RBN. And when you guys tweet out, hey, at Team YouTube or anything else, send us those tweets so then that way I can tell my audience to stand in solidarity so people can politely retweet and hopefully get this thing removed, because waiting till September, that's just too long for me. I don't like that, but nonetheless, I'm glad that at least things are getting squared away, and you got Zoya and you got Sabby Sabs with you guys, and JB leading the way. Shout out to JB. I know he's dealing with a lot of stuff and he's working on some stuff too. So all the best to the rest of your team. So then let's switch things up a little bit, because right now too, you are going to be doing something really huge in the city of Chicago. Of course, the DNC convention is going to be coming here, but apparently, as it stands, even Jill Stein's going to be hosting an event here. And I'm wondering if you can elaborate a little bit more about the DNC, or am I getting something off here? Could you elaborate on that?
Yeah, it's beautiful to see the true relationship that Shama Sawan and Jill Stein developed over the last few months. We invited them on our show, RBN. We had Shama Sawan and Jill Stein on our panel of ours, and then it was just fucking magic. It was me, Shama, Dr. Stein, and then after that, they was talking like, "Yo, we got to hook up. We got to do more collaboration events." And now we have this massive collaboration between two titans. I'm talking about Shama is someone who legitimately got stuff done for workers. Like, she increased the minimum wage in Seattle. She had a lot of legislative wins, and now she's building a working class movement from the ground up, teaming up with Joe Stein and the Green Party that is going through a boom. I tweeted about this on X, on Twitter. The polls they show of you have about 46% of Arab Americans in one poll that said they're willing to vote for Dr. Jill Stein. And that's fantastic. There was a poll a few months ago that showed that Jill Stein was already at 6%. You guys understand we need 5% to get federal funds. They already been denying Jill Stein funds because she hit 5%. This is massive for the Green Party. Like, the Green Party was in shambles, and the Howie Hawkins wing tried their best to kill it. The Howie Hawkins wing of the Green Party tried their best to kill the Green Party, and thank God that there's leaders in the Green Party who want to listen to critics and willing to listen to people to the left. I was one of the leading voices. Like, yo, fuck this Howie Hawkins nonsense. Interviewed him on our show and said, "This is not it, man." This and we was a leading to that. And Joe Stein, we had third party summits. Joe Stein was on. They denounced that, and now we have a true anti-NATO, unlike Howie Hawkins, anti-mandate, anti-genocide party, and it's attracting Black and brown people all over the country. Obviously, we have allies like yourself and many others who are joining in this battle. But my vision always been the Green Party should be the revolutionary, anti-imperialist, pro-Black, pro-brown party. And that's what we're seeing right now with Arab Americans flocking because of genocide, young Black people flocking. And that's why I'm going to be in Chicago. And you're going to show me that piece that we've been talking about for a while.
Well, it's not only you, but Russell has also
let's go.
Yeah. So all right, because I know Russell, he's going to be here. I know Matt Weinglass will be here. I believe Pasta will be here, and you're going to be here as well.
Gabby was telling me that Max Blumenthal is going to be there. He's going to live stream it on the Gray Zone. Well, so no pressure on me. Just only having my speech live stream on the Gray Zone. No pressure.
Hey, it's going to be a fantastic gathering of almost the who's who of independent media. When will this event take place during the DNC convention? Because I got to give you a heads up. There's a couple things going down here. Most of the city, I've never seen, because again, occasionally I decide to, do a little drive because you have to do some grocery shopping here and there. If once, $20 can only get you so much, like maybe a bag of potato chips. But nonetheless, when passing by the United Center or even that driving by McCormick Place, I'm seeing security really starting to intensify. I'm seeing some stuff coming in here and there. But for your event, where will it be at, and what day will it take place? Because on August 19th through 22nd is when the convention is taking place. Is this going to take before or during the convention?
It's during Joe Stein and Shama's event. I think I had to pull up the banner again. I have so much stuff going on. I think it's on the 19th.
All right, fantastic.
It's a worker strike back Joe Stein rally. I don't have, to be clear, I don't have all the information on top of my head. I had to pull up the banner and all that, but I think it's on the 19th. I'm going to get more information as they get closer. I'm just prepared to support the event in any way possible. I know they're having a big event. I'll give you all the information, kid. I don't got on top of my head. I apologize. I'll give you all the information in terms of times, location, all that stuff. I definitely got to hook up with you. Definitely got to hook up with the homies. You know what I mean? We definitely got to do this piece of thing. We definitely got to do. Can you imagine Nick in-house, Harlan's Media live?
Yeah, due
And
dissidents,
so,
everybody who's everybody in independent media in my backyard of all places. So I can't wait for it. But there's now another thing that I have to bring up, and that is, as we all know, the DNC convention, like we mentioned before, is going to be here in Chicago, and this is probably going to be the most controlled, neutered convention we've ever seen. If we thought the one with the lockdowns in 2020 was being controlled, I think this one here will have a run for its money, and I hope it's not as cringe as the 1996 one where everyone's doing the Macarena. If you want to see something pathetic, check out the Democrats doing the Macarena. But we're seeing now this whole narrative around Kamala Harris, and I don't know if you are aware of the white women for Harris, the white
the
men for
Karens, the
yeah,
Karens for Harris.
the Karens and the Kevins coming out in I've never seen this amount of smugness and cuckery in
And the most
my
terrifying thing I ever seen in my life, kid. I tell you guys, there's nothing more terrifying than a white liberal. I see
oh,
thousands of white liberals. Like, these are the same people who lock their car doors. They see me walking by. these are the most terrifying people.
well,
So,
but go ahead. I didn't mean to cut you off.
all
Go
right,
ahead, man.
I apologize, kid, but why do you guys think I don't give people that much benefit of doubt, man? Maybe I should, because I'm assuming people are operating on the same breadth of knowledge that I have, but I tend not to. Why is all these white liberals and white men coming out strongly in support of Kamala Harris? It's the same reason why they support Jim Crow Joe. At what point do we stop giving liberals benefit of doubt? At this point, I am truly convinced, because Kamala Harris, according to all the early polls, if you trust them, if you don't, that's smart. But according to all the early polls, she is surging. So the only conclusion that I can make is that white liberals are strongly supportive of Kamala Harris because she locked black men up, because of her prosecutor record. You know, that thing we find as a negative, they view it as a positive, kid. That's one of her winning messages. That's exactly what they're here for. And that's why I said that call terrifying. I just see thousands of white liberals are essentially stamping the AOK on civil asset forfeiture, which Kamala Harris support. But go ahead, kid. Go ahead.
Well, here's the thing. I'm just gonna play just a short video because again, there's a whole treasure trove of this, and myself and Russell on Due Dissidence, we sat through a 5-minute video of this, but this is like, hang on, I know you've seen Mr. Man Bun himself, and look, obviously there's a lot of problems. Every country has its fair share of skeletons in its closet. But when I hear this amount of pandering and this broad stroke of, hey, when white people get together, it's usually with pointy hats. Well, I did not get this memo.
Why are we doing this? Why organize white dudes? And I'll start by really addressing the elephant in the room, which is a lot of people feel and felt uncomfortable about the call. And I think that's understandably so. Throughout American history, when white men have organized, it was often with pointy hats on. And so that discomfort, I think the skepticism is understandable. The reason that we are doing this is because we've just, the left that has been ceding white men to the MAGA right for way, way too long. Trump won over 60% of white men in both 2016 and 2020.
Oh, God.
And that's going to stop tonight because we know that the silent majority of white men aren't actually MAGA supporters.
Okay. Wow. That right there is projection, right? Because whenever I hear a white liberal talk like this, and again, look, folks, I'm really trying to educate the liberals here for a second, because when you say when white men, all of them get together, it's with pointy hats, you're broad stroking everything. And there's a lot of projection here. You hear a lot of these people, especially for the white women for Harris and white men for Harris. It is such a talk down. It's not enthusiastic, and it doesn't ensure anything of alliances or collaborations or even that standing in solidarity. This is about people's feelings and their mental derangement towards Donald Trump. And I get why people are afraid of Trump. I get it. But you are letting somebody who lives rent-free in your head, who doesn't even think about you, and you're turning him into something that he is not. Trump isn't anything new, but these Democrat politicians who've been in power for decades have been implementing neoliberal policies that are making all of our lives absolutely miserable. Do you think it's working? Do you think there's actually going to be any kind of real coalition to be built with all these quote unquote liberals panicking and saying, "Hey, we have to stand in solidarity and let's start talking down to everybody"? You think that's going to even pull off or even work?
I think it's funny that these white liberals somehow find themselves morally superior than even someone you would consider a like country redneck conservative white guy who I'm surrounded by. Guys, I live in Missouri.
Mm-hmm.
Joplin have recorded instances of KKK meetings. But what's the difference between that and whenever you have anti-genocide protesters interrupt Democrat leaders and white liberals interrupt the anti-genocide protesters to chant 4 more years, 4 more years, 4 more years? You seen that creepy chant that they do?
Yeah.
You will have people who will protest events describing the slaughter of Palestinian children, describing the slaughter, the worst genocide that humanity have seen since the Holocaust. And while describing said slaughter, that politician that they are listening to is responsible for, the response of the liberal class is to chant so people won't hear the story of said slaughter. 4 more years, 4 more years, 4 more years, 4 more years. Guys, to me, that shit is no different from KKK.
Mm-hmm. You know,
How is that different?
Well, we've talked about how a lot of the liberals have been, violently attacking anyone that is interrupting a Democrat like AOC or Kamala Harris or Nancy Pelosi, and we hear how people, will just step up and say, "Oh, why don't you shut up?" or use that violently confronting said protesters and activists. And I think when we see this kind of emotional reaction from liberals, I think this is their way of trying to maybe gently, passively, aggressively try and bring people back in. Like, all right, guys, we got Kamala. She's not a senile old man. She's better. She's a black woman. She's she can do all these things, and we just got to ignore her past. But if you look at her past, my goodness, she was critical in regards to the mass incarceration of black men and tearing apart families in California as her time as a state's attorney. I mean, everyone forgets about that. And if everyone really looks into her history, it's one of lock them up. And here's the thing: at one of her events, how people would say at Trump's rally, lock her up for Hillary Clinton. You have the same people now saying lock him up at a Democratic rally for Kamala Harris. So what's the difference? Go ahead. I want to get your thoughts on
that. There's absolutely no difference. And now one thing that's funny, especially considering you talking about Kamala, you have the corporate media now talking about how she's remaking her policy position. She's going through a transformation of her policy position, because you guys remember how she at first pretended to be Bernie Sanders, and then after that wasn't working, she's switched hard to the center. Now you had the establishment trying to bring up her old policy positions of her pretending to be Bernie. And Kamala, no. I don't support Medicare for all. I support you going to medical debt. I support the problem of medical debt scourging the black community. No. Hey, Kamala, do you want to reign in Israel? No. We're not going to tell Israel how to fight this war.
Well, I actually have something to share with you. So I brought this up for 2 other segments for my show. And this is Kamala Harris's official Twitter account. Now, we're actually going to do a little experiment here, folks. This is her campaign website, asking for money, like all politicians do. But do you notice something? No policies. What is she running on? What is she running on? What is she running on? And we have nothing from. So, like, you got $25, $47, $100, $250, $1,000. Ooh, that's cash money. And then there's other. There's nothing else. You click take action. Well, they're asking you to fill out your name. But as for anything else, nothing. No policy. Just asking for money. And you know what? Just for giggles, why not? Why not? Refresh the page. Still nothing. So you know how we did the post-duopoly show, and how we would always bring up like, hey, what are these liberals running on? Kamala's not running on jack. She has nothing to offer. And when I hear these white liberals, especially white women for Harris, white men for Harris, you want to know what the common thing is? They're saying it's great to vote for her, but why should we vote for her? Can you explain a reason why? Now, look, I'm not a Republican voter. I'm not a Democrat voter. But at least when the Trump supporters are talking about policy, they have policies. Trump has policies. However horrible they are, at least he has something. Kamala, the new replacement, has absolutely nothing. And I know you've talked about this, so I want to give the floor to you.
Kid, you so delusional. You think we really voting for Kamala Harris because of her policies? We want a Mamala. We voting for Mamala. We're not voting for policies. We want Mamala in the White House. But anyway, that's the liberal vibe. They want a girl boss. They want a mom. You guys know that they always try to push these ridiculous feelings that we're supposed to feel about politicians. Oh, we're family. That's your mama. Joe Biden's our grandpa. They always trying to push these weird obsession, try to tie us to the ruling class, make them our family. That's not the relationship. They work for us, and the Democratic Party don't work for us at all. And they don't have a policy list on their website, kid. But I know exactly what she's gonna do. Like, working class people need to become smart. We need to see through their smoke screens. She don't have policies on her website, but she did take $5.5 million for AIPAC.
Mm-hmm. And she also has recently said, because what I find fascinating, because if we're talking about AIPAC here for a second, she said, oh, it's terrible what's happening in Gaza, but Israel has a right to defend itself. It's terrible what's happening there. So far, the Lancet report, as I mentioned, and again, probably these numbers are going to be updated, 186 to 200,000 people could potentially be dead because of the ongoing bombings, starvation, rampant disease, malnutrition, all the stuff that's happening in Gaza. People are dying. But how much higher does the mountain of skulls have to be before it blocks out the sun? How much higher does it have to be? And Kamala is still saying nothing about it. She's speaking out of one side of her mouth and then out of the other side of her mouth, and she cannot be consistent. But yet the one thing that she is going to be consistent about is leave Israel alone.
Yeah, there are dozens of Biden officials who resigned because of the genocide in Gaza. Kamala Harris wasn't one of them. That's something for people to remember. She even making statements that Israel has the right to counterattack after the strikes in Golan Heights, which they absolutely do not have. They are illegally occupying the Golan Heights as laid out by the UN in international law. And she's siding with Israel on their illegal occupation of the Golan Heights. These are indications, even though I don't think you even need any indications. This is indications that Kamala is going to completely do the bidding of the AIPAC lobby and the Zionist regime. When you see Kamala Harris speak, when you hear that cackling laugh, kid, do you think that is someone with a complex theory on how to navigate the Middle East and rein in the Zionist regime? Does this seem like an intellectual that has an idea on how to bring the Jewish people liberation and safety and bring the true tenets of Zionism to be? No, she's a fucking bird brain. She has no ideology, just like all the politicians. She's going to do whatever Benjamin Netanyahu says, everything she says. And I'm seeing, and I've been tweeting about this, not to be surprising, but people who've been doing good work grifting off the Palestinian cause, like they've been covering the Palestinian cause, like Anna, Crystal, and Kyle. They're now warming to Mamala now. We're seeing the fake Bernie left, they warming to Mamala. Oh, well, it may be different. That's how unserious these people are, kid. They think it will be different. She took $5.5 million for AIPAC. What happened to we will never vote for AIPAC candidate again? That is evaporated because they changed the candidate. Go ahead, kid.
Well, what I've been covering, what I've been at least highlighting, and I'm pretty sure a lot of other people in independent media have been highlighting this too, and that is when you have this had to have been organized as soon as after that debate failure with Biden took place with Trump. That's when the ball started rolling, because the Democrats were getting calls from their donors like, hey, you can't cover up this lie anymore. There's something wrong with Joe Biden. And I think you've even brought it up, how there was a potential inside coup that took place, or a movement that took place to remove Biden and install Kamala. And because of this, now there's this wave of quote unquote reassurance, because everyone still has this honeymoon phase as Kamala. But what everyone forgets is the first honeymoon phase. And that was, I remember this in 2019, I was covering a Chicago mayoral primary debate. And that was the same. It was on Martin Luther King Day. That's right. It was on Martin Luther King Day, 2019. And Kamala made her announcement as running for president for the 2020 election cycle. And it started off as a big kaboom. There, a black woman running for the nomination. Everybody was making her out to be the next big thing. However, she was completely unrelatable. And I hope people remember this once the honeymoon phase is over, that she bankrupted her campaign. She lied about being that little girl on the bus. She lied about smoking weed and listening to Tupac. She lied about her entire career about being progressive. Anytime she brought up like Medicare for all or student debt forgiveness, like the day after, she would flip-flop on it. And then finally, she was decimated in not one but two debates with Tulsi Gabbard. And however which way you want to look at it, when her campaign went bankrupt, she did not participate in the first primary vote at all. And this is all, she's just being pushed in. And what have we said before? The Democrats won't allow you to pick who you want as the nominee. It's done behind closed doors, and it's right out there in the open. And so many people are just suffering from Trump derangement syndrome that they really can't help themselves but try and grift or jump on board the manufactured hype that is Kamala. And I expected a little bit more out of people. Maybe that's just me being too idealistic. That's one of my problems. I'm too idealistic and hopeful in people.
Yeah, and don't forget that Kamala Harris, I tweeted this out. I was on Jimmy. I was talking to this with Jimmy Dore, explaining how black people never like Kamala. She only had 1% in the polls primary, because a lot of people forgot what happened.
What? No, hold on, wait. You know what's really funny? She only got 1% of the black vote, and she got beat by 2 white men and a white woman. In regards to that, how do you feel so bad against that? Why? And one of them was Elizabeth Warren. The other two were Bernie and Biden. God awful Kamala. What the hell? And this is why I gotta say, I don't know how much of the convention will be live or how much of it will be online, but this explains all the security. They're trying to create a Hollywood feeling of, hey, first black woman running for president. Isn't she great? All while ignoring her entire history, her entire voting history, and how much she has played a significant role in mass incarceration in California. I think a lot of people need to be remembered about it or remember it, and hopefully people do, and they'll wake up from this manufactured hype. But I know there was something else you want to bring in before I interrupted. Go ahead, take the floor.
I hope people remember who was the people who tanked Kamala's campaign. Do you guys think it was the white liberals? Do you guys think it was the Bernie campaign? I was upset because the Bernie campaign still had mostly a hands-off approach towards the candidates, remember? Mm-hmm. They wanted to promote unity. That was a big sign that it was sellouts in the beginning. Yeah. They didn't want to attack their good friend Joe Biden. They didn't want to attack Elizabeth Warren. I was screaming on the campaign, why we ain't going after Elizabeth Warren? They didn't want to attack Kamala Harris. So who do you guys think was the people who took out Kamala Harris? It was Black Twitter. It was Black leftists. Do you guys think the white liberals was the one who exposed Kamala Harris? No, it was Black Twitter had a field day on Kamala Harris, and we're about to again. We are already cooking her again. Mm-hmm. The next 100 days is going to be hilarious. You're going to have the Black shit-lib capitalist class. You're going to have the Megan Thee Stallions twerking for genocide.
Did you see that? Did you see that entire event? So many people were leaving as soon as Megan Thee Stallion was done singing. People were leaving.
They're going to have the Black capitalists shaking their ass for Kamala, but the people on the ground not going to fall for it. Now, people are done, especially after it's clear that they can just anoint whoever they want. That person will do the bidding of Israel and AIPAC. Like I tweeted about this on Twitter. It's anecdotal. I admit it's anecdotal. But I had my apolitical brother who never ever talked about politics to me ever before say he gonna vote for the Green Party. Like, Green Party can't do this no more, because they're normal people that seeing the slaughter in Gaza and it's not being reported in corporate media. But people will bring it up to me because they know I'm talking about news. They're like, "Yo, what the fuck's going on with this Israel shit, man? What's going on with Israel shit?" So they're gonna continue to lose support, but it's not really about that. It's about depressing the political will of the working class, which they have been successful in doing. When you look at our election turnout, the election turnout rate is extremely low. When you ask Americans about their enthusiasm for the future, that's extremely low. Now compare that number to China, where the majority of the people in China are extremely enthusiastic about the future of the country, their future. Now compare that to America, and that's because there's not a movement. There's not anything to be enthused about. There's not anything to get people activated. That's why it's upon us, and that's why I'm glad that my post-duopoly brothers, you do this, and many of our allies in the RBN, is to rally the people to a cause, rally people behind an organization, mutual aid, third parties, and an actual solution. Because Kamala Harris is a clown, the Democratic Party is a clown, MAGA is a bunch of sellouts to Israel. They're clowns. We need to empower the people. As people are depressed, the job of the establishment isn't necessarily to win, it's to depress people. When people engage in mutual aid, when people show up to the Palestinian protests, and I know you feel the same way, people always say, always such great positive energy, how much better they feel. And because being engaged, being in the fight, that will uplift, and that is the medicine towards the depressing of the working class that the ruling class has pushed on us. There are people who are apolitical in my life that engage in the Kansas City food drive that we did, the homeless drive that we did, that don't care about politics, but they fired up for that. They love that. So as the ruling class, their job is to depress the American people and make them less enthusiastic and turn them into nihilists. Our job is to activate the revolutionary potential of the working class, the revolutionary optimism of the working class. And that's why I make fun of Kamala. Because
you're an awful man. You're an awful man. How dare you? How dare you? You don't want to see Kamala Harris win? What would the white women of Harris or the white men of Harris think of you? How dare you?
And I said this on Jimmy as well, but this is why I have fun making fun of Kamala Harris and the ruling class. Because by doing so, you expose the contradictions and the fraudulent culture of our oligarchy, our two-party duopoly. It instills revolutionary energy, get people fired up and ready for change. So that's the best thing that I can do. And that's what people should be asking themselves as we laugh and as we have fun. In RBN, we're not like the no fun left. I enjoy having fun. We have fun segments every once in a while. We laugh. We cry together, you know what I mean? But then at the end of the day, that laughing and crying is all about mobilizing people. Laughing at the establishment, laughing at the clowns on MSNBC and CNN, it's just so people can be exposed to how garbage our system is, so they want to change it. That's the point. It's a revolution. It's action with joy, action with humor. That's what I think will be successful. But anything, I'll pass back to you, Kate, if you want to chime in.
Well, here's the thing. I just want to say that, first of all, when we are being critical of Kamala Harris, like, on the one hand, we are having fun at this, but at the same time, too, this is serious, because I've never seen this much of a collective narrative that so many people are trying to twist and form into reality, as though that even if Kamala were to win, things are going to get better. What is she running on? What is her message? What is she doing? I mean, yes, she's bringing in money like any other politician, but what have I said about politicians? They're usually twerking and dancing on the strip pole so that, suckers will go ahead and give them money. But at the end of the day, what do politicians and strippers have in common? They don't care. They're putting on an act. Whoever they are on stage is not who they are behind closed doors. Okay, it is all smoke and mirrors. And for everyone who is trying to put their hope into Kamala, there's a 50-50 chance that Donald Trump could very well pull this off again and become president. And so many people are going to have collective meltdowns. They're going to rage at people like us when we're not the ones you need to yell at. The people you need to yell at is the Democratic Party. So I want to give the final word to you, Nick. And that is, you're going to be helping co-host an event in Chicago with Dr. Jill Stein and the Greens and a few other independents that are going to be there. But what do you want to say to some of these, I guess, people who are deranged enough to think that Kamala's going to fix everything? Because, look, you want to educate people. You want to wake them up to break away from not only the Democratic Party, but from the Republican Party, because both sides are owned by Wall Street. But yet there's this illusion, there's this mindset, everyone almost seems to be hypnotized into thinking that if they support Team Red or Team Blue, that everything's going to be a-okay. So what do you want to say to people to get at least to wake up to this entire nightmare that we're in? Because it's all a joke, a horrible joke, but it's a joke nonetheless.
Yeah. Congress in our country has a 13% approval rating.
I think 11% actually.
11%? Damn, it dropped again. It dropped again. We need people to understand that our ruling class is completely non-legitimate. Imagine you as a cashier had a 13% approval rating. Like 13% of the time you have good customer satisfaction. I used to sell cars back in the day. And if we got anything lower than 90% on our customer service surveys, we were liable to get fired. You know your boy kept at 99%, by the way. I'm all about customer satisfaction. That's why I succeeded in the industry, by the way. But hey, I digress. You boys stayed at 99%. But I had to keep my shit at 99%. I had to keep my bonuses, you know what I mean? If you slid below 9%, you're screwed, you know what I mean? Right? Mm-hmm. Meanwhile, Congress, 13% approval rating. 13%. And we allowed them to get away with it. And Americans continue to vote for these people who unapologetically not doing the bidding of the people. They're doing the bidding of the ruling class and the oligarchy. Once again, for the image that everyone should have saved is the AIPAC tracker, which, to be clear, the AIPAC tracker is a Justice Democrat DSA faction. They try to get people to hate AIPAC so they can support Cori Bush, for example. But I will admit that they do a good job. They do a good job putting the AIPAC images for us together. So go to AIPAC tracker, find how much money Kamala Harris made from AIPAC, and spread that everywhere. She made over $5 million from AIPAC, and she has a short career. She was elected in 2016. She was elected a long time ago. She was elected in the Hamptons in 2016 by Hillary Clinton and her faction. Do you guys think there's any surprise she became vice president and potential president? Because I think there's a good chance that MAGA can choke this election away. Never underestimate MAGA's ability to choke an election away, because they're trying to paint Kamala Harris as the next Malcolm X instead of pointing out her corruption.
That is beyond stupid. If you're a Trump supporter, let me be clear. I don't mean to cut you off here, but if you're a Trump supporter, but if you're a Trump supporter and you think Kamala Harris is some left-wing progressive, no, she is not. There are many other ways in which you can hit Kamala, but being a progressive, a communist, a socialist, a Marxist, a Leninist, she is none of those things. You're way off. Just like that episode of Seinfeld when George Costanza was faking for his job thing and Kramer picked up the phone. You're way off. Wrong number. You're way off. Way off. Exactly. Sorry. I mean, take
no. That was perfect, because I was when I told Jimmy, I told Jimmy, like, bro, it'd be a huge mistake, and he agreed. I was like, bro, it'd be a huge mistake if MAGA tried to paint Kamala Harris as Malcolm X, and because remember, Trump won in 2016 because he highlighted the corruption of the Hillary Clinton Foundation. Mm-hmm. Trump's strategy in 2016 was to paint Hillary Clinton as corrupt. And then Donald Trump got in bed with neocons in the Republican Party, the Heritage Foundation, and he changed his messaging. He went from the Democratic Party is corrupt to Joe Biden is a secret Bernie Sanders socialist, and he lost. You guys think it's a coincidence? that he went from calling the Democratic Party corrupt and all of a sudden he pretended Joe Biden was the next fucking Jeremy next Bernie
Corbyn.
Sanders. Jeremy Corbyn, Bernie Sanders.
Yeah.
Like, and they lost because of that. Now, if they already showing their hands that they're gonna paint Kamala Harris as the next fucking Malcolm X, the next Black Panthers, and polls, don't take them seriously, guys. It's just a data point. Polls or whatever. But the early polls thus far is showing that Kamala Harris is now beating Trump in battleground states. It's showing that she had a sharp increase in approval rating because MAGA did exactly what I warned them not to do last week.
Mm-hmm.
Instead of highlighting her corruption, they start pretending she was based. They're like, oh, she's so radical. She believed in free healthcare. Remember how she supported Medicare for all? And I think that helped her. Once again, this is just data points. Anything changed, but that's why I think legitimately helped her. But the duopolies serve each other. This is, right. And then my final point. I know we're gonna wrap up soon, but the duopolies serve each other. The Republicans need a strong Democrat. The Democrats need a strong Republican party. You have this CNN and liberals saying that if Trump wins, he's going to end the Ukraine war. You tell me they don't want him to win. I know you cover this all the time. Look at all the horrible ways that liberals attack Trump to make him look more popular. Meanwhile, look at the Marxists and the anti-imperialist critiques of Trump. They were devastating. When I hear liberals critique Trump, I damn near want the motherfucker to win. That's how unappealing they are. The same with Republicans. Republicans paint Democrats as something they're not because they actually help each other. Mm-hmm. And as Genocide Joe is facing a rebellion over funding a genocide, what do Republicans do? They say, oh, well, we support the genocide and he should finish them off instead of going for the killing blow. And this is a thesis that I've been pointing out on my show a long time. Both parties work together in tandem. One can't pull ahead too far. Once one party pull ahead too far, then they do crazy shit. They try to do as much as they can to drive down support so the other party can take over. They need the swinging pendulum. And I'm saying this for a reason. I'm saying this to end this, to explain to you guys how the establishment has everything planned out in advance. It's a deeply unserious game, and I know you're a man of culture, so I know you appreciate this reference. You explained how politics is exactly like pro wrestling. They got SummerSlam coming on this week. It's gonna be good. They got baby faces. Kamala Harris is the baby face now.
A jabroni that was pushed up way before she was needed to be pushed up. Exactly.
Yeah, so, Donald Trump is the heel. He's the heel that the company is upset became too popular. You know what I mean? And then you have the jobbers. If you don't watch pro wrestling, jobbers are people who are designed to lose. Mm-hmm. They lose in order to make the star they are pushing look better. That's Bernie Sanders in the squad. Bernie Sanders in the squad, they are the political jobbers of our society. Their job is to lead the left into losses, to lead the left off a cliff. Their job is to create defeat. The job of Pramila Jayapal is to be defeated like a jobber. And then Republicans and Democrats go back and forth with the title like heels and faces. And once you realize that it's just theater, no different from pro wrestling, that's when the urgency comes for us to organize ourselves. Because the deeply unserious charlatans are the people, and I see you, Black Magic. I see a few of your chats here from Black Magic Talk. I agree to come on their show, and I still will. I got a crazy few weeks coming on.
Yeah, absolutely.
I was big into MMA. I always been big into combat sports. My brothers love pro wrestling. They dragged me into it. I watched the Attitude Era growing up. We talked about this before. I was a big Attitude Era kid.
ECW for life.
ECW.
Yes.
I used to watch wrestling in the 90s when I was younger. My friends, my
golden
brothers.
era. The golden era. Yeah. Gen Z, you know nothing of it. I'm so sorry. I love you, Gen Z, but you know nothing of the Attitude Era or the Monday Night Wars.
Bro, the NWO? I remember Dennis Rodman because I was big. Dennis Rodman and Hulk Hogan, bro. Damn. Mike Tyson, Shawn Michaels, Austin, bro, that was my era. I stopped watching, but my brothers are really into it. And they kind of drag me back, to be honest. It's very entertaining to watch. Oh yeah, but that's the That's why I used to compare politics. And I think it's funny. I think once you can separate yourself from the insanity of pro wrestling, is one of the most entertaining things to watch. But that's what politics is. And the ruling class, they treat politics like that, because the same way that us, the workers who just try and blow steam off, will watch a silly show like pro wrestling, that's what the ruling class does. After exploiting some workers, stealing some resources, they turn on the TV show and watch Fox News. They watch CNN. They watch their entertainment, their political theater, which is politics. Then you see them the show trials. They be having the show trials, the January 6th hearings. January 6th hearings is their SummerSlam, if you want to put it like that. You know what I mean?
Fair enough.
And I get back to the original point. We're having fun now. But the original point being, that shit is not for us. It's political theater. It's fake. Imagine you trying to be a professional fighter, an MMA fighter, and you're like, I'm going to go to the WWE and win the WWE championship. I'm the best. No, that's not.
No, there's a script. There's a script, and there's a pecking order on who gets the belt or any of the belts. Period.
Yeah, I know it sounds crazy, but that what it sounds to me when I see Bernie people say they want to run the Democratic Party. You're a fucking fighter trying to be a fighter in the WWE. That's what leftists who support the Democratic Party sounds to me, which is why we should organize. Hopefully that wraps up the last question, because I wanted to make it about organizing.
I think it's a perfect way to end it, and I'll just add it right here. You know, there was a documentary once where, you know, I'm going to bring up wrestling. Just hold on, bear with me. Triple H was talking about how he was training somebody, or he was working with somebody. I think it was before he really made a name for himself in the WWE or WWF at the time. And they actually were hitting him for real. And so that was somebody who was actually like trying to fight. And Triple H was like, all right, hey, after this, you want to go outside and really handle this and see how and that's what the Democratic Party does to Bernie Sanders and progressive supporters. Like, oh, you really here. We will ruin you. And I know this, for example, because in 2016, when Daniel and I were covering the DNC convention, we heard the same story from so many people who I'll leave anonymous, but they were delegates, they were volunteers, they were supporters, they were people with the campaign who were being doxxed, harassed physically, and okay. There was people who were being stalked. There were people who were being threatened with being fired from their jobs. And it's the same thing. So if you want to try and reform the Democratic Party, good luck. And to all these people holding on to hope for Kamala, good luck. But all I know is DNC convention, August 19th to the 22nd. And I know one thing, Hardlands Media will be there to cover your event with Jill Stein. Please send me that information. And also, I want to make this very clear. If there is any updates, posts you do on social media, on X, about how we can, again, bring more awareness to what's happening at RBN, how it's being censored, please let us know. You stood in solidarity for us, and I never forget the people, my friends, who have helped me. I'm being honest. I want to make sure that we can help you guys out. So just keep us in the loop, Nick, please, if you can.
Yeah, for sure.
All right. Is there any kind of events or shows that are happening this week for RBN, which the viewing audience can be made aware of so they stay a step ahead of the shadow ban?
Man, you guys already know we releasing banger after banger. Yesterday we had John Pang on, amazing journalist who writes for the Beijing Review, who does amazing work around the world. And we had like unscripted, because I plan on talking about Israel, Venezuela. We had a completely unscripted 50-minute conversation about geopolitics, from sanctions to China. China is a country I've been very fascinated with over the last year or two. We had a great conversation about whether China is capitalist and socialist or not, something that is debated a lot in the West. It's one of my favorite conversations I had in quite some time. And today is going to be even today is going to be another band, because we got Fiorella Isabel from Google Couch, our friends. They're going to be explaining the situation in Venezuela. And also I'm going to have a journalist from Venezuela Analysis. I had the founder of Venezuela Analysis. I think they're going to have someone else join us. So it's going to be Fiorella. And they do amazing work. I had them on maybe about 2 weeks ago, on the ground reporting from Venezuela. So I'm very interested, especially after the election, after the failed CIA coup, Nicolas Maduro, to hear his perspective. So today is going to be big on Venezuela. The CIA took another L. They are not good at cooing like they used to do. Like they used to be, kids. So a lot coming up. And as soon as I leave the stream today, I'm going to record my hotspot a little bit later than usual. So we got Hotspot. I'm about to record. That's gonna drop later today.
Done deal.
Live stream. And next week, I think it's the 11th, not next week. But there's a Kansas City worker strike back event I'm supposed to be speaking at. So that's I talked to him yesterday. And I gotta get more information on Chicago. I talked to Stein and them about that a while ago, but I gotta get more information on that. A lot coming up, bro. This is about to be a busy ass few weeks for me.
Well, then good, as it should be. So I'm looking forward to all this, and to everyone, please send
Chicago, bro. Chicago, it's gonna be lit, bro. It's gonna be lit. We gonna have some pizza. We gonna do our live stream. We gonna do our thing, bro. I'm looking forward to it. You know what I mean? If I get me our homies Kit, we're gonna have the Harlan's Media RBN collaboration live. Let's go. But anyway, I'm looking forward to it, brother. I definitely gotta hit you up.
No problem. And folks, stay tuned, because we'll be giving more updates about the DNC convention. So everybody, please understand, it's going to get a little hectic, August 19th to 22nd. So please be sure to follow all of us on social media. And now we will continue on with our main show. Nick, keep on kicking out those bangers. And as always, I want to see RBN succeed and get this copyright strike removed, and anything you need from us so we can help you and stand in solidarity like you guys did for us, we will be there. So everyone, hey, follow RBN. Nick, keep doing all the great work, and thank you for joining us early this morning.
All right, I love the work that you're doing, kid. You guys are killing it, and I consider Harlan's Media to be close friends with RBN and close associates. So thank you for everything you do. See you around, brother.
All right, much love. All the best to you.
Radio station just censored the word devil. Clearly, we are on a different level. I guess you wouldn't notice all the rolling boulders crashing past your shoulders when you're taught to shift your focus lower, scream at all the pebbles. Cheering on the bombers because you can't abide the rebels. But I bet you'll wring your bloody hands when all the dust has settled, when the last little limb is pulled from Gaza's twisted metal. Then you can say how you were led astray, and never once in all your days would you have knowingly supported all the genocide for which you clapped and prayed. But they baited you with unconfirmed blurbs about babies until you were filled with rage. Yet someone told you babies had been starving, bombed, and caged for nearly 80 years in Gaza, and you looked the other way. So regret, but make it fashion. Go and pluck that final petal off a hyacinth on Instagram for every kid they kettled. Every son that Israel imprisoned when they're little, that they tortured for a decade, then surprised with their acquittal. And when they got released and saw their parents, and whenever siblings hadn't met the missiles, they stared right through their middle. Their eyes don't seem to focus, and their words are all but dribble, like they're pondering the darkest riddle. That is, how many false flags does it take to make humanity inhuman and uncivil, distorted by the revel? The crooked slant where Israel contorts into America, Biden bathing Bibi in a bloodbath in the bevel. I opened up my feed and I saw children disassembled. Turned some music on and heard the station censor devil. Imagine thinking Doja Cat's a threat to moral fabric in the single largest terror cell that ever felled a temple, that ever sparked a cleansing, that ever burned a market, that ever raped with bayonets or carpet-bombed apartments, that ever turned your water off and left you in the darkness, left you doing surgery on children while they're conscious. You sing the devil's praises every time you sing our anthem. You sing a hymn to him that watched us birth a million phantoms. You'll proudly wave his flag, and yet you will not name the devil? Well, clearly, we are on a different level. I can give you names, shit, I'll give you several. They say the devil wears a different face for every general, like a composite of the char he brought to fields of emerald, and the wail of every childhood we made ephemeral. So who else has left the stain of blood on everything they touch? Who else can starve civilians and they don't so much as blush? Who else has paid for Gaza being flattened into dust? If there's ever been a devil on this earth, then it is us. That's U.S. What an ugly couple letters. Feeding shit and ignorance to those it chose to tether. From the river to the sea, both are slowly growing redder. For the devil that you know just knows you better. It knows every gut reaction it could ever make you feel. It knows fear is that which wakes you up and gets you on your wheel. It knows just the kind of story that will justify its war. And the scripts are wrapped for World War IV. So just imagine my surprise to give the radio a listen and to hear such pious morals out of Zionists and Christians that they'd take the devil's name and try to clip it from existence while they carry out his bloody business. You would wave a fascist flag, and yet you honor not your Iblis? Name you not Apollyon? Hush you now your witness? Bleed the name of Belial till tongue is rolling listless in the man-made mouth of Mammon, as Lamia's whispers listen. When carts are wheeling bodies through the cities that we crushed, and the very air is rotten with decay of all that was, who else would censor devil yet behave as Legion does? If there's ever been a devil on this earth, then it is us. U.S., but not a unity of souls. More a mass of corporations turning houses into holes, turning people into puppets, turning puppets into mold, turning mold into nutrition bars worth their weight in gold because they're bombing every bakery and burning every field with phosphorus that never once has wanted for a meal. The devil wears a mask and it delights in the reveal, in that moment where the face is let to peel. We do not love the underdog. We do not cheer the rebels. We lust for all their blood until the dust has finally settled. Then pity just ourselves that we were so misled to revel. Proudly wave his flag, and yet we will not name the devil.